when I was school, my parents were not okay with me taking a sabbatical to go on this reality TV show. So I'm in grad school, and my professor gets up and gives a 4-hour lecture on reality TV and how influential it is on youth today. So immediately I run to my office hours and I say, oh my God, I've always wanted to go on this TV show and, Survivor, and what do you think if I get on it? Will you help me strategically utilize it, like I said, all this free PR to be able to promote this company and this vision that I have for women, through this medium, because I think, I could, one, I want to do it for selfish reasons because I love the show, and two, I think it would be an incredible opportunity. And he's like, sure, Jones, you go ahead. You get on a reality TV show. And I think he was being a little facetious with me, or patronizing, one of the two. And so I make a tape. I find out the address, the secret address to Mark Burnett's production company. I make up a name to get in. They somehow let me in by the grace of God. I get into this huge compound. I convince the woman at the front desk that I'm one of the 48 finalists, whittled down from the 60,000 applicants, which I wasn't. So I get sent into the room with all these producers as they're like calling security because they're like, who is this chick? Are you serious? And so then, like I said, I had about 35 seconds to convince them that I thought that I would be awesome on the show. And sure enough, I got cast and left a week later. So it's like a really crazy story of it worked out a little more serendipitously than I could have ever imagined. So I was very, very grateful for the opportunity. And I think that, honestly, I think we underestimate men to think that they want that vapid, comatose Barbie. So I think with this whole idea of, like, raising the bar for women, I think it's only natural for that to be commensurate to men. And so for me, that's why I always joke that I'm a connoisseur of good men, because fortunately, my father is the best man I know, and my 4 brothers are impeccable human beings and who absolutely revere women. So in a weird way, I've been spoiled because it's almost like I don't know any better. I just assume that they're really incredible, high caliber level of men out there, and I wish that more women had that opportunity to know what they deserve. And like I said, I think that, at 26 years old, myself, I think it's interesting because for me, there's I am the perfect litmus test for boys versus men, because boys are absolutely terrified of me. They're like, who is this chick? She runs her own company. She travels all over the world. And for men, they're like, can't get enough of me. I'm the kind of woman where I feel like you're one or the other. And so I always joke with all my girlfriends that I'm like, hey, you need a test for whether or not he's a real man? Let me meet him. But
you don't scare me, actually.
Oh, really? Well, I haven't met you in person. Just wait. I'm terrified.
But
I'm joking. I don't really scare boys. Are you kidding me? I love them. No, that's the best thing is everyone has a really good sense of humor. We give each other such a hard time, you can imagine. And the other really funny thing is when we're in LA and there's a big crew of us, and it's me, Amanda, Poverty, James, Ozzy, Mikey B from my season, Natalie from my season, who's such a sweetheart, who got a horrible edit, unfortunately, because she is absolutely hysterical.
So
and all they can do is these really serious comments, which she absolutely did not say seriously. But when we're all in LA, you can imagine whenever there's a Survivor fan and we're sitting at the table, they literally lose their minds. They go nuts. Because it is their wildest dream that they walk into a restaurant or into a bar and we're all sitting there hanging out together and they're like, oh my God, I loved you and I loved you and I loved, and it's really funny. So we always get a kick out of it. And I think that for a lot of people, even when you get recognized, that people are like, oh, they must get used to it, or, oh, it probably happens all the time. And I think the reality, again, and the irony of me saying this back to back, but the reality of reality TV stars is, again, we are just normal people who happen to have this crazy wild adventure that somehow got recorded on national television. And so whenever anyone comes up to me, it's always so flattering. It was really bizarre. When I got done, I swear I had more dads writing me, telling me that I was perfect for their sons. All these dads felt like a huge responsibility to set me up with their sons, and sisters were like, you have to date my brother. No, I really do. I think you touch on something really interesting with this concept of fame, because I think it's something that's not really talked about that much, and especially from a theoretical standpoint, is that it's a really unique experience to go on this crazy adventure and you come back in less than a month later. And I remember when the first one aired, within hours of the first episode airing, I had 537 new Facebook requests. And I just thought that was so bizarre, because it's not like an actor and actress who you're building up this this, I feel common knowledge of who you are. It really is overnight, and that's why people are so infatuated with this concept of reality TV, as it does. It happens overnight that you're all of a sudden your face is plastered on all these magazines and on billboards, and you're on a huge syndicated show. And for me, what was interesting was that I made a very stern decision to never read any of the blogs. Like, I never read any of the comments that anyone wrote about me, because it occurred to me that it's dangerous either way, whether or not I'm reading all the praise. And there's certainly, and I'm so grateful for the fans that, were wonderful and supported me. And it's not that I tried to respond to most of my Facebook, but I just mean like in all the chat rooms and stuff, that I think it's equally dangerous to buy into all the praise as much as it is to harp on the negative comments. Because at the end of the day, if you're allowing your self-esteem and confidence to dance on the approval of others, I think that's putting yourself in a really scary position to lose who you really are. And at the same time, I've certainly witnessed different reality TV stars, and it's certainly not just them. I think it transcends reality TV and goes into actors, into anyone. I mean, successful businessmen and pastors. I mean, anyone who you're having a constituency like looking up to you. I think it's dangerous when you lose who you are and you start focusing on, like I said, the comments that people are making about you. And
this is my question for you. Do you still get recognized as, oh, you're the girl from Survivor? I mean, do you get recognized as that?
Definitely, and I think it's more because I have, like, very distinct characteristics. Like, I have big old dimples, like, you can't hide that, and I have, like, big old Texas hair, and it's, like, really long, and so there's certain, like, attributes where I think make me stand out, so it makes it a little more recognizable. But I think that I've also done things since Survivor. Like, I Am That Girl has become, incredibly successful, which, again, is such an incredible blessing. I can't stop saying, like, how grateful I am for the opportunities I've been given. But I think because I've done a lot since Survivor, that I would like to think that that's an afterthought of what I've accomplished. Because I really feel like, at this point that, I did Survivor, but, like, in the past 2 years I've done a lot since Survivor. So when people are like, you're the girl from Survivor, I'm like, please, that's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, that's a bullet point in the things that I will do in my lifetime, which I loved the adventure, but I hope will never be defined by any one thing, much less a reality TV show. And at the same time, I really, to talk to that idea of this, of fame and of and how you deal with that. I think for me, the other thing is, like, my faith is the most important thing to me. And so I think there really is, like, a graceful humility to everything that you do that, for me, like, I'm striving for something greater than myself. And so any type of accolades or success or anything like that, to not allow that to define me, I think is the only thing that kind of keeps my ego in check, because it's very easy, to be so flattered, and it is so flattering when you have fans, commenting and contacting you. Like, there's nothing, that feels better than that kind of praise, and at the same time just putting that in the right box as opposed to making it mean more than it needs to.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from there. I totally get what you're saying. And faith is a huge thing in me, too. And to keep your head on straight.
Definitely.
And don't get cocky.
No, I get it. I mean, it's a tough rub, especially when you're wanting to do something, like I said, greater than yourself, which is definitely my ambition for I Am That Girl. It's not even about me. It's a vehicle and a vessel for a message that I think is really important that men and women need to hear right now. And the fact that, I get to be a spokesperson in the face of that movement is an honor, but at the same time, like I said, it's certainly not about me. And I think that's all it is just, like I said, keeping in check with where you want to go and how you're going to get there, but, doing it with big old piece of humble pie sitting next to you at all times, and that is certainly what my family represents, and again, I mean, giving them all the praise in the world that I am who I am because of my mother and because of, my dad and my family. I'm so lucky to have such a grounded support system who, their egos didn't get stroked either when I was on the show, and I think that's really unique, is to have a family who, worships and celebrates and reveres the right things. And, they thought it was fun, but that was about all it was for them, and it certainly didn't change the way they treated me. If anything, I think they give me a harder time now, just to make sure. My dad always says, I'm just making sure you're not getting too big for your britches. I'm like, okay, Daddy, I promise I'm not. But, I'm so grateful to have people in my life who know what's important, and when I get off track, I feel like are the first ones to let me know and to bring me back down. Yeah, I mean, I would love for people, if they have the opportunity to check out IamThatGirl.com, because I think we're doing some really cool stuff, and we could certainly, we'd appreciate the support. And again, from men and women, we want everyone on board for this. So I would love that. And then obviously I'm on Facebook, so anyone who's listening, I would love to be in touch. So by all means, Facebook me. I don't tweet nearly enough. I'm much more of a Facebooker, but I'm trying to get better about tweeting.
It's Lexi Jones 1.
Oh, yeah, that's my tweet, Lexi Jones 1 and Alexis Jones on Facebook. But I hope you all have an amazing night, and thanks again.
You too.
You have a wonderful night, too.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.